So I'm Amit Werber. I'm very happy to be here. I just want to add a tiny note about how exciting it is to be in a modern art gallery. I really appreciate the chance to speak in this conference, but specifically being in such an inspiring room is really moving. Okay, so we're here to talk about the future, but I'd like to take a moment to talk about the past. 1859, Peter Cooper, at the time, was an industrialist, an entrepreneur, an inventor, founded the Cooper Union for the Advancement of Science and Art, an academic institution teaching both art and sciences, and opened its doors to both men and women alike, people of all color, any color. That was a revolutionary step at the time. This is 160 years ago, at the height of the Industrial Revolution. Peter Cooper understood the importance of education for all. He opened the institution's doors to the working class, giving classes for free, opened a library, a reading room open to the public, where poor immigrant kids from the tenements in the Lower East Side would come in to read newspapers and journals. Cooper believed that anyone with the willingness to learn and the rigor to work really hard for it deserved to be there and deserved to get that education. He believed that education was important not only for a person's individual prosperity, but for a more civic and harmonious society. I was really lucky to attend the Cooper Union and graduate from its School of Art in New York. I saw what free education for all. So the institution till this day gives full tuition scholarships to anyone who is accepted. It has an art, engineering, and architecture school. Free education for all is insane, right? I mean, this is an idea that we find hard to grasp, I think, today. And that institution is unique, extremely unique in the education field. I saw what free education for all does to individuals in the community. It liberates them from the burden of student debt. It frees them from these thoughts of, is this worth my time? What will I benefit from it later on? Okay. Liberates them from thinking about where they're going to get that money for their education. It creates an equal space, a liberating space for people of any gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, any financial background, any social status, to create and learn and develop freely together. Now, that experience really shaped the way I see diversity and inclusion in our world. So fast forward, since graduating, I've worked with many different startups, different verticals, different company sizes, both in New York and Tel Aviv. And I look around me and I see a pretty homogenous picture. I think we have a long way to go when it comes to inclusion and diversity in the tech world. Side note, I apologize for the typography. It is hurting my eyes. Transferring PowerPoint between computers really messes up everything. I think designers here are going to agree with me. The fonts here are terrible. So back to diversity in the tech world. I would like to live and work in a future where everyone is welcome at the table, where people of any gender, any race, any background can all contribute to this evolving technological world, right? When we work with people who are different than us, we are likely challenged more to think differently, to think creatively. I think inclusion in tech will bring to more diverse innovation, and we can even see that when we think about women's health and women's role in promoting women's health, right? So achieving diversity and inclusion in tech is really challenging. It's really hard, and we face a lot of challenges. And one of the ways we could start is by starting early. I forgot a little note. So the gains of diversity are both moral and economic. companies with diverse management teams have 19% higher revenue due to innovation. This is from a survey published on Harvard Business Review just last year. So we can all benefit from diversity, right? Again, diversity is really hard to achieve, and if we start early, if we start young, we could see some change. Perhaps if we teach every child computer sciences, we can help them by giving them skills for their future, skills that help them become part of our technological future, right? So we want to teach computer science for all. And that's what we do at CodeMonkey. We create coding games for kids. We try to achieve a curriculum from kindergarten to 8th grade. So that's quite a long span in a child's educational life. The company was founded almost 5 years ago by 3 childhood friends who were inventing and playing together since they were kids. Sorry. So we started off in the CET, the Center for Educational Technologies Incubator, then quickly adopted by the Ministry of Education here in Israel, as Omi mentioned, to the Cyber Olympics. That's an annual competition that takes place with schools across Israel from ages, I think from 3rd grade all the way up to high school. CodeMonkey takes part in the 3rd grade to 8th grade competition. And it has been really successful and really, kids just love CodeMonkey. We have hundreds of thousands of kids worldwide playing. Our product is translated in over 15 languages. We have thousands of teachers leading them as well. And our goal is to reach every boy and girl out there and teach them computational thinking, teach them really important skills for the technological world. And we think anyone can code. Now, coding isn't just about syntax. It's not just learning HTML and JavaScript and becoming a web developer. The future is not going to be comprised of all web developers, right? We think coding is extremely valuable for really important skills, for planning, logic, computational thinking, problem solving, creativity. If we equipped every child with these skills, we could see a different future. We can see them perhaps more involved in technology in the future. So, loading the video. So let's take a quick look at our most popular game, the Coding Adventure, meant for ages 8 to 10, so that's 2nd to 4th grade. I think it's going slightly slowly, so forgive the video slowness. So we basically have a game and code. In the beginning, we teach kids to simply make the monkey step a certain amount of steps. It begins with learning basic sequencing, so the order of your commands are really important in order to solve the puzzle and win the challenge. The video is going really slowly, I apologize. Let's move on to the next video. So we're gonna jump ahead to something way more advanced. This is halfway through in the game. I'll mute it. Sorry. Okay, so now we are going to write functions. We are going to use if-else statements, and we're going to run everything through a loop. So, okay. So the first function is going to ask if the banana is frozen. Then we're going to tell the goat to go break the ice, because the monkey can't eat frozen bananas. The goat is going to go to the banana and hit the ice. And then we're going to write a second function asking who is going to eat that banana. So if the banana is green, the goat is going to go eat it. Else, we are left with yellow bananas. The monkey is going to go eat that banana. And then we're going to run everything in a loop. So this loop is going to run through an index of bananas. Each banana on the screen is numbered. It's in a list, indexed list. And the loop for bee and bananas will go banana, banana, one at a time. And for each one, we'll ask these two questions, right? So do we need to break the banana? And who's going to eat it? Very slow video, not even working. Okay. I apologize. Okay. Let's mute this. Okay, so I'll try to spark your imagination that while the game is running, when the goat hits the ice, we hear sounds, right? It's a game with sounds and animations, etc. So we'll just let that keep going. So I explained a little bit about the game. I'd like to mention how I think technology meets design in this interface. So we have a program, right? We have lines of code that children write on one side, and we have, there's the goat, it's happy. And we have our game on the other side. And we're basically representing abstract concepts, right? All these statements and arguments and variables. We're representing them with tangible objects, with bananas, with animals, right? Something that kids can relate to, can grasp as something real in this world. And that connection is something that comes really natural to them and is what promotes learning so much. So I'd like to highlight 3 insights I have about engagement, kids' engagement with this game. The first one, the fact that it's a game. We have a scoring system, you get stars for your solution. You could get 3 stars if you have the best solution. And we see that that really motivates them. We have a map with all your challenges that you need to unlock. Kids want to progress and want to move on and succeed. And there's also a competitive element to it. And again, game design means that it has to be fun, it has to be intuitive. We celebrate every win and we acknowledge every failure as an opportunity to learn. And that's something that really promotes learning here. So the second element of engagement is the artwork, is the characters. One of my personal agendas is to constantly make sure that we're not creating gender bias with our characters. We try to keep them very universal. The fact that we use the animal world is something that I think people around the world can relate to. It's nothing really specific for one culture. And we see that kids really, really love the monkey and love many of its characters. So we're looking at some Purim costumes. The middle and the corner is, I think, the entire 3rd and 4th grade 3 years ago dressed up as the game for their Purim parade. Purim is our holiday for costumes, right, when we dress up. And then another huge fan of CodeMonkey, another girl dressing up as the game. And on the right is a kid in our user testing from last year who came with his CodeMonkey hat that he knit himself. So kids get really, really attached and have a lot of fun playing. And the third element of engagement is a sense of empowerment. Kids have to face these problems, right, and write code in real coding in real programming languages. Maybe they kind of feel like they're adults, but they have to solve the problems on their own. And that gives you a lot of confidence, I think. There's also an aspect of eliminating the fear of failure. If you face a challenge and you don't know what to do, just start writing code. Just start with something and hit run and see what happens, right? And you can do that over and over until you figure out the problem. And having that independence in solving problems is really, really powerful for empowerment with kids. And that's an attribute we want to give every child for the future, right? That's something that really gives resilience and strength and confidence for a future adult in the world. So the more individuals we reach, the more people with these skills and these senses of confidence and empowerment, the bigger change we might see. The more individuals have opportunity for social upward mobility, the more diversity we might see in the world. So that's actually one of the reasons that led Jonathan, our founder and CEO, to found CodeMonkey. In 2001, when he was doing Shnat Shirut, right? So the year of community work before the military service. He did that in Sderot, the periphery of Israel. And he worked with teenagers. He was like a youth counselor for teenagers of different backgrounds, some from Russian immigrants, Russian aliyah, right? Some were from families, second generation immigrants from Morocco. So different teenagers coming from hardworking homes, poor families. And he would create fun activities for them using Logo, which is a programming language made by MIT, a visual programming language. So he'd make fun activities and really got them engaged. And some of these kids later on went on to learn computer science and get jobs in the tech world, in the tech industry here in Israel. And that really changed their lives. And that changed their families' lives. And that had a really, really big impact on Jonathan as well. And I am inspired by that story when I'm telling it to you now. Now, the future workforce and the present day's education are totally tied together, right? A recent Google for Education report mentioned these two statistics, that 92% of all future jobs will require digital skills, and 45%, which is huge, 45%, that's almost half of all jobs, will require confidence working with technology. And again, we're seeing just from this conference, right? The future of medicine, mobility, civic engineering, technology is everywhere. And so the change is coming, and more organizations and more countries realize that. So in Europe, we see over 15 countries that have implemented computer science education from K to 8. That's elementary level education. In the United States, many states have created computer science standards. So that's standards for their education system. But only 6 states have integrated policy that actually brings computer science to schools. So as more and more countries bring this change, we know that we need to work with the education system, with present day education system. And we need to work with the classrooms and with the teachers. So one of the things we have at CodeMonkey is we have teacher tools like classroom management and student roster management. And we give teachers a table to see the students' progress throughout the different activities. We also give professional development seminars for teachers, because one of the challenges we face today is that, a second grade teacher is not necessarily a computer science expert, right? So we need to help them be comfortable with these topics. We need to support them in supporting the students that they're teaching. And we want to have them feel comfortable in this technological environment as well. We also give lesson plans that break down the games throughout the semester, throughout the year. And each lesson could have examples for activities you can do in class to explain a specific computer science concept. It has explanations and other tutorials that teachers can use. So that's another thing that is really, really important for us, is to balance between a student's independence and fun and willingness to learn, and a teacher's empowerment, right? The two have to work together. Because we realize that revolutions don't happen in a day. We can't just bring high tech into schools and think that everything will work out. We need to make the school system work together with technological innovation in order to actually impact these kids. So I'm not really sure what the future of education will look like, but I do believe that computer science education is important education for the future. And I'd like to close off with just a tiny short story about Kavya Koparapu, who is currently an 18-year-old freshman in Harvard. She's originally from Virginia in the United States. Today, she is an inspiring speaker, leader, inventor. She invented 2 different apps for diagnosing different diseases back when she was in high school. I mean, she's only 18. And she got introduced to coding when she was in elementary school. She had a workshop with Scratch, which is another platform by MIT that teaches kids to code using block-based coding, so these blocks that they put up together. She was introduced to coding, and she was completely inspired, and it sparked her imagination. And she went on to learn more and more abilities. In high school, she was an expert for AI and computer vision. I mean, she is really exceptional. But that all started with that tiny workshop in elementary school. So I'd just like to leave you with this thought of what great potential we could see in the world if we allow every child that opportunity to get a taste of computer science or to learn computer science. Thank you.